Meanwhile, the Carolinas are bracing for Hurricane Florence to make landfall. It's already forced over 1 million people to evacuate in order to escape flooding and a massive storm surge. RT's Sara Montes de Oca joins us live from Alexandria, Virginia. Sara, how are you holding up out there?
Hi, Scotty. Well, I'm here in Alexandria, Virginia, where it's typically flooding when it storms. For now, D.C. is out of harm's way, but unfortunately, millions of people are not. Now, the winds from Hurricane Florence have dropped from 140 miles per hour to 110. It weakened overnight to a Category 2, but still a very lethal storm. Now, given that it will linger for days on the coast, it could have anywhere from 20, 30, up to 40 inches of rainfall, and it is expected to hit early Friday morning. Some meteorologists say that even if Florence goes down to a Category 1, it could still cost billions of dollars in damages, and as many as 10 million people's homes could be affected. Now, the governor of North Carolina, Roy Cooper, said in a statement, catastrophic effects will be felt outside the center of the storm due to storm surge as high as 9 to 13 feet. Now, that's a second story of a house. Tens of thousands of structures are expected to be flooded, and many more by rising rivers and creeks. Now, millions have already evacuated, and it looks like they're all working together to prepare for this storm.
Mandatory evacuation a couple of days ago, so we started to seek shelter. We showed up here, and we've been here for today will be third day.
Time like these, you know, we need to lean and depend on each other. Life is already hectic outside of here, so different people coming in from different places, and there's people are kind of not sure about things, but if we have faith and we believe, things can always get better.
Him and her Dr. Watson.
So airlines have already canceled 1,000 flights and counting. Stores like Home Depot and Lowe's are acting as emergency response centers. They have trash bags, water bottles, and generators, and they've had over 1,000 trucks delivering the supplies to them. Many gas stations are running out of gas. As of this morning, there were still some that had supplies, but your best bet is to check with an application called Gas Buddy for the most accurate information. According to Duke Energy, one of the nation's largest power companies, about 3 million are set up and expected to really experience some power outages that could last for weeks. Now, Scotty, we have to remember that this is always a large farm area agriculture that is right in the storm's path, and that could affect hog producers, which the last time we saw this was during Hurricane Floyd back in 1999.
Well, Sara, let's talk about these evacuees. Are they being given any idea of how long it's going to be that they're going to be away from their homes, or when they can return?
We're thinking maybe perhaps by next week, but that's what people are afraid of. And people spoke out and said that they're afraid of the flooding and the aftermath, that they've already been there for 2 to 3 days. So it could be a week, it could be longer. We'll see how it affects them in the aftermath.
Well, thank you, Sara, for braving the elements, and you stay safe out there. And for more information on Hurricane Florence, we turn to Dan Kuklowski, expert senior meteorologist at AccuWeather. Dan, thanks for joining us on this very important evening.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, let's talk about right now, what do we need to know about Hurricane Florence?
Well, Florence right now is a Category 2 hurricane with winds of 110 miles an hour to 105 miles an hour. And it may still intensify a little bit more, but more importantly, it's going to become a much larger hurricane. The diameter is approximately 460 miles, so that means that the wind field has tripled from what it was about 3 days ago. So all this wind now is coming onto shore, and so coastal areas are now getting buffeted by tropical storm force winds. Those hurricane force winds, which extend out to about 70 miles or so, will begin to affect coastal areas later tonight. Now, we expect it to make landfall near Wilmington, North Carolina, right around daybreak tomorrow. And so up until then, the winds are going to get stronger, the rain's going to get heavier, and of course, as it moves inland across that area, again, we're talking about a very large storm surge of somewhere between 10 to 13 feet, maybe as high as 15 feet if certain areas get the funneled water. But basically, computer models are forecasting a very large storm surge. So again, we're going to see a lot of places inundated saturated with water for not only just a short period of time, but probably for several hours. This is going to be a slow-moving hurricane when it makes landfall, so that means that all that strong wind and all that heavy rain is going to be over coastal areas and southeastern portions of North Carolina for hours and hours tonight, tomorrow, and probably into tomorrow night as well. In fact, we're forecasting rainfall to continue all the way through the upcoming weekend. All told, some of those areas along the coast there in southeast North Carolina could end up with 2 to 3 feet of rain, and we're calling for a maximum amount right around 40 inches when it's all said and done. And this will spread westward into the rest of North Carolina, and especially northern and northeastern South Carolina as we head through Friday night, Saturday, and probably into Sunday as well.
Well, often when a hurricane comes ashore, you get a lot of other residual storms. They think it might be weakening, but you get tornadoes, you get flooding in some of those areas that aren't even along the coast. How far do you think the extent of those types of weather can be expected as we head out west and even up north?
Well, of course, tornadoes can be spawned very easily in a situation like this, and they can actually develop well away from where the center is. And unfortunately, even though the storm will be weakening, the counterclockwise flow created by the storm can spin up very quick developing tornadoes, and these are very hard to predict when they spin up and spin down. So I advise people, again, be on the alert. They'll be issuing warnings for these, but also be prepared for some very strong gusty winds. We expect tropical storm force winds to extend outward, like in places like Raleigh-Durham, out towards Charlotte eventually, and of course wind gusts could be as high as 40 to 50 miles an hour on the outer periphery of the storm. But the biggest issue, again, is going to be the heavy rainfall. On average, away from the coast, we're going to see 8 to 16 inches, but locally, some places could end up with well over more than that. So we're concerned about flooding. And then when this thing gets into the southern Appalachians, over like upstate South Carolina, southwestern North Carolina, perhaps eastern Tennessee, again, the mountains may enhance the rainfall as well. So we're looking at a potential for torrential rainfall in those areas as well. So if you live in the mountains or are going to be in the mountainous areas this weekend, you may want to have a plan in place where you may have to evacuate that area because of rising water coming out of the mountains in some of those streams.
Dan Kotlowski with AccuWeather. Thank you for joining us.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.